So here's a question right here. How long should we expect to feel detox symptoms? So keep in mind with a lot of people, okay, everybody's different in so many ways. Somebody could think they're having a detox symptom, but they're dealing with a symptom. So that's important to know right there. Somebody could be thinking they're doing something that's making them detox, but they're not doing something that's making them detox. Keep that in mind too. I've seen people out there in the world, right? And I've seen people on social media saying they're detoxing, and then they talk about what they're eating and doing, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, I don't think you're doing some detoxing with that right there. They're eating cheese or whatever it is that they're eating. So there's so much misinformation about detox. I'm going to do a podcast episode just letting you know it's a word that's way overused all the time by everybody. Okay? And it's way overused by people outside of the medical medium information. So a lot of people be like, all medical medium does is talk about detox. That's kind of strange because that's not what medical medium only talks about. So that's kind of a term that's used out there in the world throughout the years when someone doesn't know why someone is sick and what's happening to them. Medical Medium Info cleared the air with that by giving people the information that allowed them to find out why they were sick and why they were struggling, what these symptoms were, and what was happening with their health. That information was critical for people to heal. But detox is thrown into everything now out there. It's also a term that's used to sell products now. So all you're going to do is hear the word detox out there. Because detox, they're basically aligning detox with products. So everybody, becomes like a sales pitch out there with the detox word. So keep that in mind too. But a lot of people don't realize it. If they have a flare up with something or they were sick with something anyway, they don't realize what's detox or not. That's important to know. I'm going to go into detail on the whole process about detox. A lot of people blame real symptoms on detox, which is wrong. It's not detox. It's a symptom that was already there. That's critical to know too. So I'm just giving you little tidbits about detox. But I see it all the time on social media. I see people saying they're detoxing, and then you're seeing what they're eating, and then you're like, okay, with what you're eating, I don't know what kind of real detox you're doing, because it's impossible to detox when you're on nuts and seeds. It's impossible to detox when you're on nut butters. It's impossible to detox when you're on olive oil. I'm not saying these things are good or bad, so don't get scared. I'm not saying that. Also, people blame detox when really they are emotional because they're not drowning their emotions out. So a lot of people have emotions that are surfacing because they're not suppressing those emotions with food. So it's a tricky situation we can get into when we're doing comfort foods, including vegan comfort foods out there. I've seen a lot of intense vegan comfort foods. We can suppress our emotions with eating, no judgment. It's hard down here on planet Earth. It's not an easy place to live. And so we can easily suppress our emotions with food. And that happens a lot with so many people. So once you're taking some of those foods away, the emotions are just going to pour out. And it's like, as they're starting to surface and pour out, it's like, we got to get that food in us. We got to get that emotional food to suppress it, the comfort food to suppress it. Understandably so, and rightfully so. A lot of people have it really hard. They lean on food, completely understand. I've seen this out there. It's a normal human experience and a difficult one for so many people. But that alone can create an emotional detox. And that's really intense all on its own. So detoxing is, you can't package it all in one word. Like, it's detox, it's detox, it's detox. There's a lot of people in health that don't know what's happening with, there's a lot of people that work in the health space. They have clients And there's a lot of health coaches that have clients, and they don't know why, no disrespect, but they don't know why their client is having a symptom or their client is having something happen. And so it's so easy just to say, you're detoxing. That's what it is. You're detoxing. That's what it is. So it's kind of easy to do that. I'm not judging any health coach or anybody around that. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying it's an easy word to throw around and toss about. One that's tossed about way too much in too many ways, too many times. So is detoxification, a real thing? Yes, it is. But it's such a mixed bag of nuts. And there are people who don't know what's happening with their body or inside their body because they haven't been taught why they're sick and what their symptoms are. And so they'll come across somebody that just tells them they're detoxing. And it's like, no. I've seen this with friends. I've seen this with people I've known out there. They did not know why they were sick, and somebody told them it's detox. It's like, no, you're dealing with a viral infection. So there's so many different levels of how it works. So I'm just giving you a couple of tidbits, but honestly, it takes a podcast episode, and we're just going to have to jam-pack that episode like to the tilt, because there's so many details around detox that are critical to know and critical to understand. Basically, it's overused. Most of the time, it's used for the wrong reasons. Most of the time, it's just a word to paper over and blanket something someone doesn't understand. And we have to be careful with that word detox. And it's being used with selling products right now, big time. Skin products, facial products, internal products, body products, hair products. It's just a great term being thrown out. It's being weaponized. So that's another thing too, is the word detox was being weaponized against, kind of infiltrated into the medical medium community. It's not that I ever said detox isn't real, or I never talked about detox before. That's not true, but it filtered into the medical medium community and became like a weapon and has confused a lot of people. And so that's something that happens too. A lot of times somebody might go through a serious emotional experience. It lowered their immune system. They had a flare up, and then someone said it's detox. That's really common, but really you went through an emotional experience a month ago, and that emotional experience lowered your immune system. Now it's time to actually build that immune system up and do the right things. But someone will say, no, it's detox. Stop everything you're doing. That's something I've seen a lot, and it's saddening. I've seen people move forward, and then they get exposure to something or an emotional experience and exposure to something. Their immune system drops. They get a little bit of a flare up, and then someone who thinks they knows everything, they'll say, oh, it's detox, stop everything. And now they're getting worse because they stopped everything that was healing them to begin with. Because a lot of times when you're going through something, people are drowning their feelings and body with adrenaline and comfort foods to override it. So when we're up against stress and emotional abuse and emotional struggles, and all of that, we drown our bodies with either adrenaline or adrenaline and food, and we're pumped up with this, and we get really toxic from all of that. And a lot of people don't realize. And so detoxing, yeah, it's a real thing. But like I said, it's overused, And you can feel good doing it too. You can feel like, whoa, I'm eating all this food, and I feel good. And everything else, and we're suppressing everything, and we're drowning ourselves with adrenaline from the comfort food. So I just want to put a little clarity on that too. When you eat a food that you've refrained from for a while, Because you know that food is probably not helping you. You know that food is probably not that great, but you refrain from that food for a while. And then you eat that food, you get an adrenaline rush, an adrenaline surge, and you get euphoric from having that food. And so then you think, whoa, I just stopped my detox. But really, you just got jacked up on a tremendous amount of adrenaline. Happens all the time. I've seen people with chocolate, the war of chocolate. They have like a war with themselves with chocolate. They have a chocolate drawer. So they got like all their chocolate in here, and they know not to have too much of it because they know they can get so jacked up from it. But if they stay away from that chocolate for a little while and then they go and they have that piece of chocolate, they get euphoric and adrenaline floods them, and they're like, whoa, I just broke a detox. No, you didn't break a detox. You're saturated with adrenaline. The cocoa butter, the cacao butter, any kind of fat can also saturate our bodies with adrenaline too. That's another thing that happens. Chocolate will surge adrenaline, and that gives you the feeling, the euphoric feeling, right? Between the caffeine and the adrenaline both combined, and you feel high, and you're like, I don't know why, that feels so good. I slowed down my detox. I stopped my detox. And then there's chemicals in food and natural flavors in food. The MSG gives us a feeling too of like a euphoric, addictive feeling that ends up surging our adrenaline too. So when we stay away from those foods, we're really feeling how sick we really are. And then when you bring some of these foods back in, you're like, you get high for a moment. You're like, wait a minute. I've seen people go on a massive indulgence where they're just like, oh my God, I could eat everything I want now. And I feel good. But what you don't see a month later is they won't post on social media that they have tanked and they are feeling crappy again and their food took them down. You won't see that. Coffee and matcha tea, same thing. A lot of times you'll see people where they're actually they're keeping to something. They're keeping to a routine. They're actually eating good. They're keeping to something. Maybe they're doing a medical medium 369 for a while. Maybe they're taking care of themselves and they're keeping out the garbage and the junk, right? They're keeping out the trigger foods. They're keeping out the brain rotting foods, the troublemakers, and they're keeping all that out. And then they start eating something. They're back to eating a lot of cacao. They're back to eating something else. They're back to eating pizza, whatever it is. And they feel euphoric and high and they're on adrenaline and they feel amazing and they feel so good. And they're like, I should have been eating anything I ever wanted. This is all I needed to do is just eat what I wanted and all my problems would be fine. I don't know what I was doing. I was detoxing all that time, always detoxing. I'm sick of detoxing. And now I'm eating so good and eating anything I want. That medical medium was wrong or that medical medium person was wrong, whatever it is. And then like they're shooting out their posts like, I feel good. I just needed to do this. I just needed this meditation and I could eat whatever I wanted. I just need this neuro realignment tool and I could just eat what I want. And then what you don't see after you see all those posts, you don't see a couple months later, someone who's back on all of the medical medium stuff, the morning cleanses, the mono cleanses, the heavy metal detox smoothies, the 369s, they're back on their celery juice. They're back on all that, but they're not going to go and correct everything because they're going to look like a moron. So they're not going to go and bite the bullet and go and do a post saying, you know what, I actually had it wrong. And now I'm back on MM stuff. No one corrects it. They never do it. You never know what happens to them 2 months later. And many people heal and then they go eat what they want and they get high on it. And when you get high on it, you think you're just like, whoa. And they end up just shitting on what got them better. They end up shitting on what got them better. We're doing a little detox talk right now. How about that? What's the chances of that? Didn't expect that today. I'm at your disposal, that's why. I'm at your service. Did not expect to be talking so much about detox. So many people heal with the medical medium information, then go run around, eat what they want, and end up shitting on everything that got them better in the first place. I had to say it again because I just like the way it sounds for some reason.